I'd like to touch on perhaps three quick points. One, where did this program come from? Where do we think it is right now? And where might it be headed? When we hear that our top national security leaders making comments that, well, we don't really know if Iran has decided or its leadership has decided whether to acquire a nuclear weapon or not, I'm not quite sure what intelligence they're looking at, because we know that Ayatollah Khomeini ordered the IRGC to get the bomb in the middle of the 1980s. That was in the depths of the Iran-Iraq war. It was devastating on both sides. The Iranians were not sure they could win it at that point. Khomeini turns to his commanders and said, we got to have a bomb. From that point onwards, the Iranian regime has been intent upon this quest. I think it is the sine qua non of this regime. They will let Iranians eat grass before they touch a single part of the nuclear weapons program. That order has never been rescinded, to the best of my knowledge. The other point about that is that it is the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, that has command of all of Iran's weapons of mass destruction programs, and that includes the nuclear, a very robust biological warfare program, chemical, and of course then also the delivery system, the missiles. So where do we think we are now? Well, the IAEA, in its most recent reports, I would cite the report of last November, 2011, and then the one from just this last month in February 2012, has been increasingly candid, I think. Under the many years of the Secretary General al-Baradei, Iran really was allowed to make a lot of progress on its nuclear weapons program. The new Secretary General since last year of the IAEA is a former Japanese diplomat by the name of Yukiya Amano, and he has been putting out some much more candid reports. The one particular from November of last year was eye-catching, and it talked very candidly and for the first time about Iran's nuclear program as having a military dimension, and they wrote that straight out, and that was the first time they did that. They also listed in that report a number of the areas that Iran is working on. Included among those are the milling of nuclear hemispheres. That would be the pit of the nuclear weapon itself. It talked about explosive tests, meaning the charges that are used to set off the chain reaction of that nuclear pit. It talked about the assistance of outside foreign powers. Iran is a country, you just heard Ambassador Woolsey talking about the United States getting and actually delivering nuclear weapons in about an 18-month period during World War II. Iran has now been working, if you count from the 1980s until now, working on acquiring a deliverable nuclear weapons capability for 20-something years, and with the assistance of half the nuclear world, meaning the assistance of Russia, of China, of Pakistan, and importantly of North Korea. It doesn't take that long when you have all that assistance. So the IAEA report of November noted those things. The most recent one came out just a few weeks ago in February, and this brings us more to the current time period where Iran is at right now. It talked about the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council that Natanz, the enrichment facility, and others that may exist and probably do, cease entirely their enrichment activities. They have not done that. They have not complied. They talked about the Fordow plant. This is the new little compared to Natanz, enrichment plant buried under a mountain near the theological seminary city of Qom. And there they have installed something like, or are in the process of installing, about 3,000 centrifuges for the spinning up of the gas that turns into, that makes the highly enriched uranium. That plant is too small to be useful for anything except a weapons program. It's not going to be useful, for instance, to power or to supply the material for production of electric power at a place like Bushehr, the nuclear reactor. So that site is highly suspect, and the IAEA pointed it out. The IAEA's report also talked about Iran's declared intention to create or construct 10 new uranium enrichment facilities in coming years. And then, of course, The failure to suspend work at Arak. Arak is another nuclear facility that has a light water reactor. That is for the production of plutonium. It's an alternative method of getting to a nuclear weapon. And on and on. One of the most important things I think that they have hit upon in very recent days goes to something which I think echoes something that Iran has done in the past. You probably have seen it on the media and the news. They are talking about a military site called Parchin. Parchin is a military site some miles south of Tehran. It is under the military Department of Defense control, but it is the nuclear program and also biological weapons programs that are underway there under the control of the IRGC. They work closely together, these two, DOD and or Ministry of Defense, I should say, and the IRGC. Well, Parchin is a place that the IAEA is really focusing on because they think they're conducting trigger testing there. Triggers are those things that make the core go off, make the reaction sequence begin. There's an echo here. Back in 2002, for the very first time, the Iranian opposition publicly blew the lid off of Iran's nuclear weapons program. It had not been known publicly before that time. They began to reveal satellite photographs of places like Natanz and eventually Isfahan, the conversion facility, and Arak that we just mentioned, the plutonium facility, and others. Well, there was another one revealed, and it's called Lavizan Shian. Lavizan Shian was an R&D and a testing facility outside of Tehran, again, close to the capital, which was apparently doing trigger testing as many as 10 years ago. At that time, they were working with different elements, polonium and beryllium. Now they've moved on to deuterium and tritium, but it's the same idea. They were working on triggers to start the explosive sequence that sets off the bomb. Well, at Lavizan Shian, this was exposed when the opposition put up the satellite photos and everybody went to look at it. And the IAEA eventually did get there to look in, I think, 2004 or so, maybe perhaps a little bit later. But when the Iranians realized that their program had been exposed, they panicked. They have a National Security Council, too, and they met. It was Department of Defense and Intelligence, Ministry of Intelligence and Defense and all the rest. And they decided that as far as Lavizan Shian goes, they were going to destroy it. They razed it to the ground. Every single building, every single tree was pulled up, every single blade of grass, bush pulled out, and the dirt scraped off and carted away, I know not where. And then the place was turned over to the municipality of Tehran for a city park, which is what it is today. Now, fast forward again, when we see that Parchin has come under IAEA interest, and they want to go visit it, and Iran has been putting them off and putting them off. But meanwhile, we see the satellite photos on Fox News and CNN and the rest of these trucks scooting out the back door. Okay, it worked really well with Lavizan Shian. I think they're trying to do it again. I think part of what Ambassador Woolsey mentioned with the December 2000 NIE, the National Intelligence Estimate, had to do with the shutting down of Lavizan Shian, because that was the site of the warhead development. When that ceased at Lavizan Shian, some would say, oh, the program ended. Well, no, they took off all the elements of it and buried it under mountains and bunkers and tunnels, which is where it is today. It hiccuped. It didn't stop. It continued in other places. So that is where we are today, and that is what we're focused on today. The missiles, of course, are another extremely important issue. We heard just recently that Die Welt, one of the respected German media publications, has come out with a report that they have talked to European scientists who are convinced from scientific testing that one or maybe two of the nuclear weapons tests done in North Korea during 2010 were actually conducted on behalf of Iran. Reason being that the testing revealed the presence of radioisotopes of uranium and a uranium, apparently, bomb explosion in those tests, where we know that the North Korean nuclear program has been primarily a plutonium one, but the Iranian program is uranium. In any case, it may be that the Iranians are doing some of their testing in North Korea. Final note about North Korea is, of course, the missile system and the ballistic missiles that have been tested in North Korea, but also in Iran. Iran has been able to put a satellite into orbit. You're able to do that, you've got the missile capability for intercontinental ballistic missiles. It's the same technology, a little bit different mission, perhaps. Where are we going with this? What are the final red lines for Israel? We don't know. You saw both President Obama at AIPAC and also Prime Minister Netanyahu from Israel there, both speaking about Iran. Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech in particular was very much focused on Iran. The phrase, the sentence that stuck with me the most was, I will not allow my people to live in the shadow of annihilation. And I think I have just returned from recently about an 8-day trip to Israel, where I would say the mood is one of resolve, calm resolve. I don't know what their red lines are, but when they are crossed, Israel will do what Israel has to do in order to survive, and they will. Thank you very much.